with the election fast approaching, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are absolutely kicking ass
And taking
and
names.
taking names
Yes.
when it comes to not only rallies but fundraising as well. Because we all know by now that the polling is very unreliable in this country
As good
for
as it
whatever
looks,
reason.
you
Right.
can't go by it. Do not rely
Right.
on it.
The things we like to look at is the money that's being given voluntarily because people don't like to part ways with money unless they feel it's a noble cause or something that they
And
believe in.
when you see who is giving that money, what
Right.
Jeremy said makes even more sense. And you'll
Yeah.
see what we mean.
So the fundraising has just been out of this world. Let's go over some numbers here. I think
All
for
right.
August, let me go over just the overall one and then I'll let you break it
Yep.
down. So Kamala Harris for the month of August, $300 million. Okay. Donald Trump, $130 million. But there's a big difference in those numbers as well. When it comes to one of the persons having a lot of large donors, large people that donate a lot of money. Somebody else has a lot of first time donors and a lot of small donors, which is what Mike's going to get into
Yep.
here.
Yep. All right. So when you look at it, it's a little wordy, but it's important because the numbers will literally jump out and smack you in the face. The Harris campaign raised $204.5 million in July alone, while the Trump campaign raised $47.5 million.
Damn.
Okay. Shaking up what was previously a more evenly matched cash race, which is true. Biden and Trump had raised $284.1 million and $217.2 million in total, respectively, as the end of June. As Harris entered the race on July 21st and quickly posted huge fundraising numbers, with her campaign reporting $81 million in donations in the first 24 hours of her campaign. While
Wow.
official fundraising totals for August at this point haven't been filed yet with the FEC, the Harris campaign reported Friday that in and affiliated groups raised $361 million with $404 million in cash on hand, far surpassing Trump's $130 million and $295 million cash on hand. Now, before I go ahead.
I don't know. See, Donald Trump likes to inflate numbers, so I have a feeling his
He
numbers are
does.
not
The only thing I could say is I hope he's lying to the FEC. I really
right. I
do.
wouldn't be surprised though. Like, what? I wouldn't
mean,
put it past him. So
the
I
guy
think
literally
his
makes up numbers
right. That's what I
all
mean.
the
So
time.
like, I wouldn't put it past him for the amount that he's received to be a lot lower than he says, and
Yep.
then
I mean, look,
yeah, the
we
cash on
know
hand. He's always got to be like, oh, I'm rich. I have a lot of cash on hand. You
you're
know what I
not
mean? That
rich.
kind of
You're
guy.
not rich. You're not as rich as you say you are. But
Exactly.
it goes to show, he cares about these weird metrics, right? The
Mhm.
visuals. That's all Trump
Right.
cares about is his appearance, what he looks like and what people think he appears. So he wants to
Exactly.
look like he's a king because he says that he has these giant rallies. We know that's false.
Mhm.
He cares about the size of things that don't matter. It's just like in 2020, he cared about how many people were going to his rally during COVID and was saying that no one showed up to Biden's rallies while Biden was saying, hey, don't pass COVID around. And he was doing all of his rallies online and other
Right.
sources. Worked out.
Yeah.
Now it's even worse. Let's see where else the numbers go. This is from Newsweek. The Trump-Vance campaign said Wednesday it raised $130 million in August, down from nearly $139 million in July, and significantly short of Vice President Kamala Harris's $615 million in donations since President Joe Biden dropped out of the race. She's basically almost tickling $1 billion raised in like 3 months. This is the number that means everything. About 98% of donations for the month were under $200 each, according to the campaign. The average donation was $56. The rest doesn't matter. The point is, people
That's
like to use
huge.
the term grassroots.
Yeah.
The money shows you what grassroots means, okay?
Right. A lot of
It
first-time
isn't
donors as well.
exactly. It's not how many billionaires donate a few $100 million, which they're not
Right.
to Donald Trump, because
Not anymore.
guess what?
The
Recently
well is
there
drying
was
up.
there was another one of those Zoom calls, or no, this was the Oprah one, and there was a few celebrities that donated 10, $15 million during that show. So the
Oh,
rich
wow.
people are riching to Kamala nowadays. And the voters, you, me, all of us that struggle to part with $56, the average donation, we're giving 98% of those donations.
So if she stays on pace by the end of when we get the September numbers, she should be at $1 billion easily. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised.
Wow.
Which is insane for a presidential campaign. Like for
I
any
mean,
campaign,
look.
$1 billion is insane to me.
Does campaign finance laws, or do they have a bad impact on politics?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But when you look at what the numbers that Kamala Harris is getting with the small donations, imagine what it would look like if there was no corporate money in politics. Donald Trump would have no money, because even though he's getting a bunch of idiots to buy merchandise to stick on their trucks, they're actually not donating to his campaign.
No.
And why is that? Because Donald Trump isn't really looking to put money in his campaign. He's trying to pay all those judgments and all those lawsuits and everything else that he's got to do to support that nonsense lifestyle of his. That's where the money's going. None of it's going to the campaign.
And then whenever he's on the campaign trail, all he does is whine and complain and scream about Kamala Harris doesn't work at McDonald's. Crazy stuff. Like he sounds like a madman.
You make a brilliant point, actually, because look at the difference of what Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are saying on the campaign trail. Why do you think Kamala Harris is getting so much money from small donors, from voters directly? Because Donald Trump talks about these vague concepts. I'll be sincere here. Everything he says is vague, but he talks about vague concepts that don't impact people, that in the end do not affect their kitchen table problems. Kamala Harris, if you actually just honestly spend 5 minutes watching anything she says, all she does is talk about the voters. That's it.
Exactly. Now here we have an example of that. This is her. I thought this was just kind of a profound clip talking about abortion and what's going on in this country right now, what it could look like under Donald Trump's national abortion ban. He can deny it all he wants, but Donald Trump's not. I mean, the Heritage Foundation is going to implement their plan. That's the whole point. And they want a national abortion ban. So that's it. Period. Done. Regardless of what Donald Trump says. So here's Kamala Harris getting fired up about the topic, which she appropriately should be.
1 in 3 women in America lives in a state with a Trump abortion ban. This includes Georgia and every state in the South except Virginia. Think about that when you also combine that with what we know has been long-standing neglect around an issue like maternal mortality. Think about that when you compound that with what has been long-standing neglect of women in communities with a lack of the adequate resources they need for health care, prenatal, during their pregnancy, postpartum. Think about that. And these hypocrites want to start talking about this is in the best interest of women and children. Well, where you been? Where you been when it comes to taking care of the women and children of America? Where you been?
Nah, man, I love her. She's good at this, man. She's ready to she's worked her whole. That's what I understand about some people why they don't support her. She grew up, middle class, works her way through the system. You know what I mean? College, then DA, then senator, now VP. And she deserves and has earned the position of president of the United States.
How many elections?
Trump is just a con man, snake oil salesman. Like
she's been elected by voters many times and into higher and higher office because she has not only dedicated her life to service, but she has earned it. She has earned her chance to run for president, because guess what? Despite what anyone wants to believe, anything Donald Trump says, Kamala Harris is, on paper and in practice, the most experienced person ever to run for president. She's
Yeah,
been
it's like
elected
she's
more times than anyone who's ever been run for president. She's had all the jobs that it takes to lead up to be,
yeah.
let's just say, I don't want to say
She's
the
like,
nation's law enforcement officer because that sounds a little Gestapo to me, but she has
yeah,
what it takes to understand the law and make sure that it is protecting every American. You want to know why the grassroots
exactly.
donations are going to her? Because when she talks about abortion, a lot of those MAGA wives are listening.
Right. Yeah, and they're gonna
How many of
vote.
those donations are coming from them?
They're gonna tell their husband they voted for Trump, but we'll see. We'll see.
They could say
Um,
whatever they want.
yeah, so her and Tim Walz are just running around the country talking about issues that we give a shit about. Okay,
Yep.
we don't care about Donald Trump's problems. Okay, nobody cares about Donald except for
They're his
MAGA. They
problems.
love, right? But they're even starting to they leave his rallies all the time, which we'll talk about in a different episode. But that is happening as well, more
lot.
and more often. So, but
A
Tim
lot.
Walz, to me, we talked about this before the show. Like he's like America's dad. The guy
Yep.
just again somebody else that worked his way up in life. Served in the military, and when he was in Congress, he did not profit off of being in Congress like a lot of these like you want to tell me Lauren
Yeah.
Boebert is worth millions of dollars because she worked hard? No, it's not how it works. A lot of people, politicians, this is why people don't trust politicians, make a lot of money on the side while
Well,
they're in office.
we could talk about this all the time. I don't think anyone in Congress should be able to hold stocks. Sorry, you are holding the keys to your own wealth. That's not reasonable. But they hate Nancy Pelosi, but then their party are the ones that do it too. Democrats do it, Republicans do it. Guess who doesn't do it? Tim Walz. And they hate him. They hate him because he represents everything that they are incapable of being, which is a good and decent man. Okay.
Right.
The MAGA movement is filled with these despicable so-called alpha males, and all they do is they champion aggression, they champion misogyny, and they champion bullying because that's all misogyny is really. And Tim Walz is one of the kindest, most decent people. The guy still to this day does not own a single stock. Okay.
I know.
Like
just like
the guy when the
401k
stuff with Mark Robinson came out, okay, about what he was doing on the forums, one of the best jokes I saw was that Tim Walz's email was found on a forum on how to tune V8 truck engines.
I know, right? That's like the worst.
That's
thing
literally who we're talking about here.
I see memes like that all the time about Tim Walz. It's like breaking news, scandal.
That's why. That's why
him doing something
America's
normal.
dad, a teacher, someone who served for over 20 years, someone who has served his community and his country in many ways, has paired up with a woman who has dedicated her life to service. And together, it is the two most complete, well-rounded service people that have ever dedicated their lives to this country. And that's why they're getting all the money. That's why they're getting all the donations. And that's why, hopefully, in November, they get all the votes.
Yep. And speaking of Mr. Robinson, Tim Walz had something to say about that because, we're going to talk about that on Sunday's live stream. The whole scandal there because, wow, calling yourself a black Nazi and saying that Mein Kampf is a good read is not a good look.
What does he have to say about him?
Let's see.
Together, it was our people that built the tanks that won World War II and freed the world from Nazi oppression. And I don't know if you noticed that Nazi tyranny. We got folks running as Republicans for governor that are proud to refer themselves as Nazis. Let's not pretend that there's a gradual difference between the folks that are running here, that they're running together. Across this country, we forged the bridges, we built the highways, we built the skyscrapers, and we are still And we are ready, and we are ready to continue to build the future together.
That's right. See, that's how could you possibly, that's what I hate about corporate media is they're like trying to somehow level the playing field, and they call it sane washing now because they're making an insane person and trying to make him look normal. And then on the other hand, you have this inspirational movement of joy and hope for a better future for everybody. And there's so much pushback. I don't understand it. Like,
It's
what is
funny.
why does everybody, when you say everybody's included, for some reason, some people are like, no, like just everybody includes you, dipshits. You know what I mean? That's what I don't understand, man.
Harris said it
No.
perfectly. Harris said it perfectly during the debate. Donald
Mhm.
Trump talks about himself. He never
Exactly.
talks about us. He never talks about the
No.
voters. Not really. He never talks to the voters. He's always talking about himself.
They recently,
Kamala Harris,
spoken of-
Tim Walz, they're having a conversation, and I really hope people are listening, because if you can listen to Donald Trump and JD Vance and you could feel even a modicum of some of that joy that you could feel with Harris and Walz, I'm afraid for you, because there is nothing on the right that is good for us, for this country, for you. Nothing.
No, there's no bright future when it comes to right wing, especially
I like that.
politicians. Yeah. All right. So we'll end this episode. We have the new Lincoln Project ad with Sam Elliott.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the guy with probably the coolest voice in show business. And he's
Man.
like this, he's like this alpha male, like American cowboy type. So this has got to sting a little bit for Trump supporters and Donald Trump too. So here you go with that one.
I can't believe we're having this conversation again. So here we go. You know who the candidates are. You know what's at stake. One candidate promises a divided America filled with lies and hate. And one stands for change. Kamala Harris has more courage, more honor, more guts than this guy ever had. So you decide, are we really going back down that same fucking broken road, or are we moving forward towards hope, towards freedom, towards change?
We know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success.
There's promise that lies in change, and the time for change is now. So what the hell are you waiting for? Because if it's the woman thing, it's time to get over that. It's time for hope, for change. It's time to be a man and vote for a woman.
Ha! Yo! Okay. Get the point? Be a man, vote for a woman. All right, that's all we have for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Helps us with the algorithm. We will be live streaming this Sunday at 2 p.m. talking about Mark Robinson's new scandal, among other things. So tune in for that. Other than that, we will, talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.
Later.